Summer 2026 Coding Agents, a plain English guide for beginners. Scope note. This guide reflects public product information and research available through August 28, 2026. Summer 2026 means June through August, although the final 2 days of August have not yet occurred. The biggest change in software creation during 2026 was not that artificial intelligence learned to write code. It was that artificial intelligence began to take responsibility for more of the work around the code. Instead of asking for one code snippet, people could describe a goal in everyday language and have an agent inspect files, create a plan, make changes, run checks, and prepare something they could preview or publish. That made software creation more accessible to business owners, teachers, analysts, marketers, students, and other people who were never trained as programmers. What is a coding agent? A coding agent is software that uses artificial intelligence to complete software building tasks on your behalf. A normal chatbot might answer, "Here is some code you can try." A coding agent is designed to do more. Understand what you want. Examine the relevant files or project. Decide which actions are needed. Create or change files. Run commands, tests, or previews. Fix problems it discovers. Show you what changed so you can approve it. Cursor describes a coding agent as a system that can plan work, edit files, run commands, search a project, and verify results. Replit similarly explains that an agent combines a language model with tools that let it inspect, edit, test, and publish software. A simple analogy. Think of a coding agent as a junior digital builder with access to a computer. You are still the person who decides what problem to solve, who the product is for, what features matter, what information is private, whether the finished result is good enough to share. The agent handles much of the technical execution, but it does not automatically understand your business, your customers, or your definition of success. Coding agents versus autocomplete. Autocomplete predicts the next word, line, or block while you type. A coding agent accepts a broader assignment, such as add a contact form to the website, make it work on phones, and check that the form displays an error when the email address is invalid. The agent may need to edit several files, run the website, and test different situations before it can complete that assignment. Why coding agents became popular in summer 2026. Coding agents did not suddenly appear in June 2026. However, summer 2026 was an important mainstream adoption period because several trends came together. Agents became useful for complete tasks. Earlier artificial intelligence coding tools were often used for suggestions, explanations, and short pieces of code. By 2026, leading agents were increasingly designed for longer tasks involving planning, editing, testing, and review. OpenAI reported that by May 2026, more than 70% of Codex users had asked it to complete a task estimated to require more than 1 hour of human work. Anthropic reported that Claude Code users spent an average of 20 hours per week using the tool, based on an analysis of approximately 400,000 sessions. Non-technical users found practical uses. Coding agents became easier to justify when people realized they were useful for more than building public websites. OpenAI reported that Codex had more than 5 million weekly active users by June 2, 2026. About 20% of its users were knowledge workers who used it for spreadsheets, reports, presentations, data analysis, workflow automation, and small internal tools. OpenAI also reported that non-developer use of Codex grew much faster than developer use between August 2025 and June 2026. This does not mean non-technical users suddenly became professional programmers. It means more people began using software building abilities to complete ordinary work tasks. Browser-based app builders lowered the barrier. Tools such as Replit Agent and Lovable allowed people to start with a browser, an account, and a plain language description instead of installing programming tools first. In a Stack Overflow Pulse survey published in May 2026, Lovable was used by 28% of respondents who had tried no-code agent tools, followed by Replit at 27% and V0 at 20%. The survey also reported that Lovable and Replit had each grown by 22 percentage points compared with the previous survey. Agents began working in the background. Codex introduced a desktop workspace for managing several agents and running tasks in parallel. Cursor's cloud agents run in separate virtual machines, can work without your computer staying connected, and can produce screenshots, videos, and logs showing what they did. GitHub lets users assign tasks to agents that prepare a pull request for review. This changed the experience from sit with the assistant and answer every question to give the agent a well-defined task, then return later to review the result. The products became easier to supervise. The strongest tools did not simply hide the work. They added previews, change histories, approval screens, test results, and visual demonstrations. That matters because beginners do not need to understand every line of code immediately. But they do need a way to answer, what did the agent change? Does the product work? Did it alter anything important? Can I undo the change? Is it safe to publish? Taken together, these developments suggest that coding agents became popular in summer 2026 because they combined better technical ability, easier interfaces, practical business uses, and stronger review workflows. Widely used coding agents in June through August 2026. There is no single perfect popularity ranking because different surveys use different categories. For example, one survey measures code assistance while another measures no-code app builders. In the Stack Overflow Pulse survey, the most used code assistants during the previous 6 months were GitHub Copilot at 61%, Claude Code at 51%, OpenAI Codex at 20%, and Cursor at 20%. Among no-code agent tools, Lovable and Replit were the leading options. The table below compares 6 widely used tools using a beginner-focused lens. For the full table, please open this article on easycoding.tools. The first week results are practical beginner targets, not controlled benchmark results. Your results will depend on the size of the project, the quality of your instructions, the available data, and how carefully you review the output. Agent by Agent Guide. Replit Agent, the easiest first step, best for complete beginners who want to build a website or simple application without installing programming software. Replit Agent works inside Replit's browser-based project editor. You describe what you want, and it can create the project, write the files, show a live preview, help you test it, and publish it to a shareable web address. Replit's documentation explicitly says that users do not need to know how to code to describe an idea and begin building. Replit is a strong first choice for a personal portfolio, a small business landing page, an event registration page, a simple budget tracker, a customer request form, a basic internal dashboard. Short demo, you type. The agent might then create the page structure, add sample text and images, build the contact form, open a live preview, help you test the phone layout, offer to publish the result. Replit's own beginner guide uses a similar workflow. Build a small application, test it in preview, and publish it to a shareable address. Lovable, best for polished web applications, best for people who want a visually polished website or web application and prefer to work through conversation. Lovable lets users create full-stack web applications using natural language instructions. It can generate the visible pages, connect data storage, add login features, accept images or sketches as design references, synchronize with GitHub, and publish a live version. Lovable states that people do not need previous coding experience to use the platform. Lovable is especially useful for client portals, booking forms, membership websites, internal business tools, customer relationship dashboards, product prototypes, short demo. You type Lovable can use a screenshot or sketch as design context, then let you continue refining the result through natural language requests. Its documentation also recommends planning the smallest useful version before adding complex features. OpenAI Codex, best for websites, files, and spreadsheet work. Best for people who want one agent that can work on software projects as well as practical office tasks. Codex is an OpenAI coding agent that helps write, review, and ship code. Its newer workflows also support lightweight websites and internal applications. OpenAI describes ChatGPT sites as a way to build and share a live website or lightweight application from Codex. Codex is also useful for spreadsheet work. The ChatGPT for Excel and Google Sheets tools can build, update, and explain workbooks using natural language instructions. Codex can work with an open Microsoft Excel workbook through the ChatGPT for Excel add-in, including formulas, values, formatting, and charts. Short spreadsheet demo. U-type a careful workflow is: ask the agent to inspect the workbook. Request a list of proposed changes. Approve only the changes you understand. Review totals and charts manually. Save a separate copy before sharing it. For spreadsheet tasks, the simplest route for many beginners is the spreadsheet-native ChatGPT experience. Codex becomes more useful when the spreadsheet is part of a larger workflow involving files, scripts, websites, or data transformation. GitHub Copilot. Best if you already use GitHub. Best for people who already have a project stored on GitHub or work with someone who does. GitHub Copilot now includes several agent features. You can ask it to understand a project, plan a change, edit multiple files, run checks, and prepare a pull request for your review. GitHub also supports third-party agents such as Anthropic Claude and OpenAI Codex inside some Copilot workflows. GitHub Copilot is powerful, but it is not usually the easiest first tool for someone starting from nothing. You may need to understand where project files are stored, how changes are reviewed, what a branch is, how to approve or reject a pull request. Short demo. U-type the likely result is not an instantly published website. It is a proposed change in the project that another person can inspect and approve. Choose GitHub Copilot when your project already lives in GitHub. Choose Replit or Lovable when you are beginning with only an idea. Cursor. Best for an existing local project. Best for beginners who are willing to install a dedicated coding editor and want to work closely with an existing project. Cursor is an editor with an agent mode. Its agent can search a project, edit multiple files, run terminal commands, fix errors, write tests, and show the changes in a review panel. The official Quick Start recommends beginning by asking Cursor to explain an unfamiliar project, then making one small change. Cursor also has cloud agents that can work in isolated cloud environments, interact with browsers, and produce screenshots and videos showing the result. On August 27, 2026, Cursor announced that cloud agents could begin a project from scratch without first connecting a GitHub or other source control account. Good first task. This is a useful beginner exercise because it helps you learn the project before asking the agent to make larger changes. Claude Code. Best for larger technical tasks. Best for people who want an agent to work deeply through an existing project, documentation set, or data workflow. Claude Code runs in a terminal, supported coding editors, and a browser-based workflow. It can inspect files, use command line tools, edit code, run tests, and work on a project locally or in an Anthropic-managed cloud environment. The local version has a steeper learning curve because you need to understand folders, commands, and project locations. The browser version is easier to approach, but it generally starts with a GitHub repository and an environment setup. Short demo. Claude Code is a good choice when you already have a project and want help understanding or improving it. It is usually not the first choice for someone who simply wants to create a website from an idea without installing anything. Which coding agent should you choose? Use this quick guide. I have no code and want a simple website. Start with Replit Agent. I want a polished web application from a description or sketch. Try Lovable. I need to clean up an Excel workbook or build a small internal tool. Try Codex with the spreadsheet workflow. My project already lives on GitHub. Consider GitHub Copilot. I have project files on my computer and want an editor that helps me change them. Try Cursor. I have a larger existing project and want deep technical help. Consider Claude Code. You can also combine them. For example, you might use Lovable or Replit to create the first version. Then move the project to GitHub and use Cursor, Claude Code, or GitHub Copilot for maintenance. Your first step in the product creation journey. Do not begin with, build me the next big social network. Begin with a small product description that an agent can understand. Copy this template. Example: your next action, Paste that description into Replit Agent or Lovable and ask it to make a plan before building. Review the plan, approve only the smallest first version, and test it yourself before adding more features. How to work safely with a coding agent. Coding agents can make serious mistakes while appearing confident. Use these habits. Start with fictional data. Do not begin with real customer records, private financial information, passwords, or access keys. Ask for a plan first. Planning reduces the chance that the agent builds unnecessary features. Make one change at a time. Smaller requests are easier to review and undo. Ask what changed. Require a plain English summary of modified files and behavior. Test the actual result. Click buttons, submit forms, resize the page, and try invalid information. Keep a backup. Use version history, checkpoints, or a separate copy before major changes. Do not publish sensitive features immediately. Login, payments, private data, and external services require extra review. Never paste private access keys into a chat. Lovable specifically recommends storing such keys in protected secrets rather than exposing them in browser code. GitHub also scans agent-generated changes for security problems, but automated scanning does not replace human review. Plain English glossary. Artificial intelligence. Software designed to perform tasks that usually require human judgment, such as understanding language or recognizing patterns. Coding agent. An artificial intelligence tool that can plan and carry out several software building actions instead of only answering questions. Large language model. A system trained on large amounts of text and code so it can understand instructions and generate useful responses. Model. The underlying artificial intelligence system that produces decisions, text, or code. Prompt. The instruction or request you give to an agent. Context. The information an agent uses to understand your request, such as files, examples, screenshots, or rules. Tool. A capability that lets an agent take an action, such as reading a file, editing a document, or running a test. Code. Instructions written for a computer to follow. Source code. The human-readable files that make up a software project. Repository. A project folder that stores source code and often keeps a history of changes. GitHub. An online service used to store projects, collaborate on changes, and review software. Git. A system that records changes to project files so people can compare or restore earlier versions. Terminal. A text-based window where you control a computer by typing commands. Browser. Software used to visit and interact with websites. Cloud. Computers operated remotely through the internet rather than directly on your desk. Virtual machine. A separate computer-like environment created inside another computer or cloud system. Sandbox. A restricted environment that limits what an agent or program can access. Website. A collection of pages people visit through a browser. Web application. A website that allows visitors to perform actions, such as submitting forms or managing information. Front end. The visible part of a website or application that people interact with. Backend. The behind-the-scenes part that handles logic, data, and requests. Database. An organized system for storing and retrieving information. Full stack. A description of software that includes both the visible front end and the behind-the-scenes backend. No code. A building approach that lets people create software mainly through visual controls and natural language instructions. Spreadsheet. A grid of rows and columns used to organize, calculate, and analyze information. Workbook. An Excel file that can contain one or more spreadsheet pages. Formula. An instruction inside a spreadsheet that calculates a result from other cells. Script. A small program written to automate a task. Bug. A mistake in software that causes incorrect or unexpected behavior. Debugging. The process of finding and fixing a bug. Test. A check designed to determine whether software behaves as expected. Preview. A temporary view of a website or application before it is published. Deployment. The act of making software available for people to use. Hosting. Providing the computers and services that keep a website or application available online. Branch. A separate line of project changes used to work safely without immediately changing the main version. Pull request. A request for someone to review and approve a set of project changes. Issue. A written task, bug report, or feature request in a project. Diff. A view that shows what was added, removed, or changed between two versions. Authentication. The process of checking whether someone is allowed to sign in. Responsive. Designed to adjust to different screen sizes, including phones, tablets, and computers. Asynchronous. Work that continues without requiring you to watch every step as it happens. Parallel. Multiple tasks happening at the same time. Add-in. A software extension that adds new abilities inside another program, such as Excel. Conclusion. Summer 2026 made coding agents feel less like experimental programming assistants and more like practical digital builders. For beginners, the most important lesson is not to learn every technical term before starting. It is to choose a small problem, describe the desired result clearly, approve a plan, and test what the agent creates. Start with a one-page website, a simple form, a small tracker, or a spreadsheet cleanup task. That first modest project will teach you more about product creation than an ambitious idea that never reaches a working preview. All links to sources are available in the text version of this article. You can find the full article at easycoding.tools blog. Thanks for listening. For more practical AI coding guides, tool comparisons, and resources for builders, visit easycoding.tools. And if it's easier to remember, just go to aibuilds.it. It redirects to easycoding.tools.